You see that scarred mountain over there? It's the one with the ridge that looks like a broken spine. You boys look at it, and you see a paycheck. You see tonnage. I look at it and I see a tombstone. I see the men who walked in and never walked out. You think you're tough because you can pull a 12-hour shift in an air-conditioned cab? You don't know tough. Tough is holding your breath while the whole world groans above your head. Let me take you back to the winter of 1964, when I was 22. I walked into the dark of the Black Dog Drift, and I didn't know I was shaking hands with death. Sit down. Yeah, right there on the steps. Don't mind that old dog. He's like meat, too tired to bite, too stubborn to die. You boys come here asking about the glory days. Let me tell you something straight. There ain't no glory in coal. There's just dust, sweat, and the kind of tired that gets into your bones and never comes out. You look at my hands, look at them. Knuckles swollen like walnuts, scars mapping out every mistake I ever made. The coal dust, ... it's tattooed in there. Can't scrub it out. It becomes part of you. I hear you talking about your quotas, about how fast you can clear a seam. Back in my day, we didn't have continuous miners chewing up the rock. We had muscle. We had pickaxes, shovels, and dynamite, and we had fear. Fear was the foreman that never slept. But you have to respect the mountain. It's what you young ones forget. You think you're conquering it? No. You're just stealing from a sleeping giant. And sometimes that giant wakes up. It's a flashback. That was back in '64, when I was 22 years old. I was strong then, or I thought I was. I had shoulders like a bull and a back that didn't know the meaning of quit. I was trying to save up enough money to buy a little plot of land down by the river and marry a girl named Sarah. Sarah, ... she smelled like lavender and rain. The mine smelled like sulfur and old sweat. I worked the mine so I could afford the lavender. That's how it went. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesday was payday, and the mood in the locker room was usually lighter. But not that day. The air outside was bitter cold, the kind that freezes the hairs in your nose the second you step out the door. But down in the hole, it was always the same. 55 degrees and damp. I was working Section 9 of the Black Dog Drift. We called it the Widowmaker because the roof was soft slate. You'd look at a roof wrong in Section 9, and it would drop a slab of rock on you the size of a kitchen table. My partner was a fella named Big Eli. He was a giant of a man, black as the coal we dug, with a laugh that could shake the timbers. He'd been down there 20 years. He taught me everything. How to listen to the timber. How to spot a rat running for the exit. Stay close, Silas, he told me that morning as we rode the man-trip car down into the dark. The wheels screeched against the rails, sparks flying like angry fireflies. The mountain's got a bellyache today. I can feel it. I just laughed. You and your superstitions, Eli, I said. I was 22, remember? I thought I was invincible. We got to the face of the end of the tunnel where the coal is exposed. We were pillar robbing. It's the most dangerous job there is. You go into a mined-out room, and you remove the pillars of coal that are holding the roof up. You take the coal, and you let the roof collapse behind you. It's a race. You race the mountain. We lit our carbide lamps. You boys use electric LEDs that turn night into day. We had a little flame flickering from a brass can on our helmets. It cast long, dancing shadows. If that flame went out, you were in a darkness so thick you could choke on it. We started swinging. Clang, thud, clang, thud. The rhythm of the mine. The dust rose up, coating our teeth, getting into our eyes. We worked stripped to the waist, sweat cutting rivers through the soot on our skin. Eli was faster than me. He moved with a grace that didn't make sense for a man his size. He'd swing that pick, hook a chunk of coal, and load it into the cart in one motion. Easy, boy, he'd say, when I got too aggressive. No, don't anger her. Just tickle her out. By lunch, we had 4 carts full. We sat on a timber pile, eating cold biscuits and drinking lukewarm water from metal flasks. You gonna ask that girl yet? Eli asked, wiping his mouth with a rag that was blacker than his face. Saturday, I said, grinning. I bought the ring. Good man, Eli nodded. Then he stopped. froze, a biscuit halfway to his mouth. "What?" I asked. "Hush," he whispered. Silence in a mine isn't quiet. There's always the drip of water, the settling of rock, the hum of the ventilation. But this, ... this was a different silence. The rats were gone. Usually you'd see a dozen eyes shining in the dark, waiting for crumbs. There wasn't a single one. Then came the sound. It started as a low groan, like an old wooden ship at sea. Creak. The timber-thick oak logs we used to prop up the roof were compressing. We called it taking weight. "Get the tools," Eli said, his voice low and tight. "Don't move." I grabbed my shovel. I was 22, but I felt like a child. The air pressure suddenly changed. My ears popped. "That's the sign, boys. When your ears pop underground, the roof is coming down." "Run," Eli roared. We scrambled back toward the main drift. The groaning turned into a cracking, like gunshots going off right next to your head. Bang, bang. The slate was snapping. Dust puffed out from the walls. I tripped over a rail tie and hit the deck hard. My lamp flickered. "Get up, Silas." Grabbed me by the belt and hoisted me up like I weighed nothing. We were 50 yards from the junction. 50 yards to safety. Then the world ended. There was a roar that sounded like a freight train driving through my skull. The wind hit us, first a blast of air pushed by the falling rock. It threw us 20 feet through the air. I hit the ground, and everything went black. I don't know how long I was out. Could have been a minute, could have been an hour. When I woke up, the silence was back. But this time, it was heavy. "Eli," I croaked. The coal dust was thick in my throat. I tasted blood. "Over here," a voice groaned from the dark. I reached up to my helmet. My lamp was gone. It's knocked off in the blast. Patted the ground frantically. Stone, coal, dust, no lamp. "Don't move," Eli said. "I got mine." I heard the strike of a flint wheel. Scritch, scritch. A tiny yellow flame sputtered to life. It was barely enough to see 5 feet. But what I saw made my blood turn to ice. We were in a pocket. A bubble. The roof had come down in front of us and behind us. Ass! We were trapped in a space maybe 10 feet long and 4 feet high. "We're boxed in," Eli said, sitting up. He was clutching his left arm. It was hanging at a wrong angle, broken. "We have to dig," I said, panic rising in my chest. I started clawing at the wall of fallen rock with my bare hands. "We have to get out." "Stop it," Eli barked. "Stop it, Silas. We'll use up the air." That stopped me. The air. We were in a small box. Every breath we took was one less breath we had left. I was 22, and I realized I was going to die. I wasn't going to marry Sarah. I wasn't going to buy that land. I was going to rot in the belly of this mountain. We sat there for hours. We turned the lamp down to a tiny bead of light to save the carbide. "They're coming for us," Eli said, leaning his head back against the coal. "The boys will be digging." "It's too much rock, Eli. Did you hear that fall?" It sounded like the whole mountain came down. "Have faith, son," he whispered. "Time loses its meaning in the dark. There is no sun, no moon, just the drip, drip, drip of water. After a while, the thirst set in. The dust sucks the moisture right out of you." "Tell me about the wedding," Eli said softly. "Distract me from this arm." So I talked. I talked about the dress Sarah wanted. I talked about the little house I wanted to build. I talked until my voice was just a rasp. Then the lamp flickered. "Carbide's running low," Eli said. "How much left?" "An hour, maybe 2. We sat in the dimming light. I watched the flame dance. It was the only beautiful thing in the world. When the light finally died, the darkness was absolute. You boys think you know dark? You turn off the lights in your bedroom, your eyes adjust. You can see shapes. Down there, your eyes never adjust. You can hold your hand an inch from your face and not see it. It's a darkness that has weight. It presses on your eyeballs. That's when the hallucinations started. I started seeing things, patterns of light that weren't there. I heard my mother calling my name. I heard Sarah singing. Eli, I whispered. You there? I'm here, kid. His voice was weak. I'm here. I crawled over to him and held his good hand. It was rough and calloused, just like mine. It was the only anchor I had to reality. I'm scared, Eli, I admitted. I was 22, and I was weeping like a baby in the dark, I know, he said. It's all right. If this is it, ... we go out like men. We go out together. We lay there in the dark for what felt like days. The air was getting stale. I was getting a headache, the carbon dioxide building up. I felt sleepy. That's how it gets you. It puts you to sleep. Don't sleep, Silas. Eli would shake my hand. Stay awake. I can't. I'm tired. ... Think of Sarah. Think of the lavender. I don't know if I was dreaming or if it was real, but I heard a sound, not a drip. Tap, tap, tap. Rhythmic, metallic. Eli, I gasped. Did you hear that? Hear what? Listen, it's the pipes, Eli shouted, finding a burst of strength. They're tapping on the air pipes. I grabbed a rock and found the metal air line that ran along the floor. I hammered on it. We waited. Silence then. They heard us. I screamed. I screamed until my throat tore. We're here. We're here. It took them another 12 hours to reach us. 12 hours of listening to the picks and shovels getting closer. 12 hours of praying the roof didn't shift again. When the breakthrough finally came, it was a tiny hole, no bigger than a fist. A beam of light shot through an electric cap lamp from the rescue team. It blinded me. It was the brightest thing I had ever seen. Who's in there? A voice shouted. It was the foreman. Silas and Eli, I yelled. Eli's hurt. He tore that wall down with their bare hands. When they pulled me out, the air rushed in sweet, cold, fresh air. It smelled like diesel and sweat, but to me, it smelled like heaven. They put Eli on a stretcher. He looked bad, gray skin, eyes sunken. But he looked at me and grinned. Told you, boy, he whispered. Faith. When we got to the surface, it was night. The stars were out. I fell to my knees in the mud and just stared at them. I'd never realized how high the sky was. Sarah was there at the gate. She broke through the line and tackled me. She didn't care about the coal dust. She didn't care about the blood. That was 60 years ago. Eli never went back down. His arm never healed right. But he was the best man at my wedding. I went back down, though. 2 weeks later, I had a family to feed. But I was different. When I was 22, I learned that the earth gives and the earth takes. I learned that in the dark, color doesn't matter, religion doesn't matter, politics don't matter. All that matters is the man next to you. You young bloods, you look at your phones, you look at your screens. You forget to look at the people right beside you. When the roof falls in on your life, and it will, someday, somehow, it won't be your bank account that holds your hand in the dark. It won't be your fancy truck. It'll be your brother. It'll be your friend. So treat each other right. Watch each other's backs, because when the lights go out, that's all you've got. Now, get out of here. Go on. I'm tired and my coffee's getting cold.